finding the lowest common multiple and the highest common fraction, and we'll look at some method hacks that make that easy. So let's imagine these are two numbers on a bar graph. We don't need to know what they are. These are multiples of the first number, so it's doubled, trebled, quadrupled, and that's doubled, trebled, quadrupled, wherever the next one is. But you'll see that these two numbers are the same. These are both multiples of this number and multiples of that number, and they are the same value. That is the lowest common multiple. Now, we can imagine what these numbers are. This could be 20, so that's 20, 40, 60, and 15, 30, 45, 60. So that would be the lowest common multiple, which is useful to remember. Let's focus in on the two numbers now. Here we're going to find factors. Here's a factor that goes up and it divides nicely 4 times. The factor is this number, and this one, 3 times the factor is this number. And this is a common factor because it is a factor of both this number and this number. If it is also the highest number, that is a common factor, it will be called the highest common factor. Now, again, if we call this 20 and 15, you can see that this goes in 4 times, so that'll be 5, and this will go in 3 times, so that'll be 5. So 5 is the highest common factor. Now, a formula that can be used when you're only looking at two numbers, only when there's two numbers, is that the lowest common multiple times the highest common factor is equal to number A times number B. So what have we got here? Lowest common multiple 60 times 5 is 300, which is equal to 20 times 15. Good, glad that worked. This is really useful. It doesn't get taught very much. It only applies when there's two numbers, but it's a great check. Let's move on. Let's consider prime factors and how we can find the lowest common multiple and highest common factor. Let's take two numbers, simple numbers, and we'll use this tree method of finding the prime factors. I always go with the 2's first. 2 times 2 times 5. 20. That's lucky. 15. Only 3 and 5. These are prime numbers, so that's the end of that game. 3 times 5 equals 15. So the highest common factor of 5 and 15 is 5. Well, it's the only common factor, 5 and 5. So that's a fairly easy one. Notice that it's common in the sense that it appears in both of these factorizations. Let's look at something a little bit more complicated. 20 and 30. We've done that one before. 2 times 2 times 5 equals 20. 30 always divide by 2. 15 was 3 and 5. So that's 2 times 3 times 5 equals 30. What is common to these two breakdowns, these two factorizations? Well, the highest common factor of 20 and 30 is 10. Any number over 10 isn't going to divide 20 very well because it'll be more than half. So that's pretty clear. But if you look at the numbers, we've got 2 and 5 is here, and 2 and 5 is here. So these are the common factors, and if you multiply those common factors together, you get 10. The highest common factor is equal to the factors that are common. 10 equals 2 times 5, which is useful to know. Make the factorization, find out which factors are common to both of the numbers, multiply them all up, and that gives you your highest common factor. Let's see it again. Oh, we're just highlighting the numbers there. Right, we'll split that up. We'll split that up. I think this is just an entire repetition. I think I'll ignore that. So let's look again at the lowest common multiple and highest common factor and prime factors. 30 and 36. Well, we break these down into this, and this is a good way of laying it out. Trying to find the numbers which are common to both, the factors which are common to both numbers. We can see there's a couple of 2's and 3's in here. The highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. the highest common factor has everything that is common to both numbers. So let's have a look at the 2's. There's 1 2 here and there's 2 2's here. Well, only 1 2 is common to both, so that's going to be in the highest common factor, and the 2's, they're going to come down to the lowest common multiple. So essentially you've taken the lowest power of 2, you've taken 2 to the 1, as it were. 2 to 2 squared comes down here. Same with the 3's, there's 1 at the top and there's 2 there, so the lowest power of 3 is just the 3, and you've got the 2 3's down below. And this is what everybody gets wrong. Even I get it wrong, but I have to correct myself. 5. The power of 5 is 1. Can't get much lower than that. So the temptation is to put this 5 in with the highest common factor. But there's a lower number of 5's below. There's 0 5's. So we put 0 5's into the highest common factor, and we put this 5 into the lowest common multiple. Let's multiply them up. 2 times 3 equals 6. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5, 180 apparently. So where's our highest common factor is the lowest power of factors, and the lowest common multiple is equal to the highest power of factors. See, so it doesn't go hand in hand. It's actually the opposite, counterintuitive. And remember our check, the lowest common multiple times the highest common factor equals A times B. So you'd be pleased to know, if we make the check, 180 times 6 is equal to 1080, which is also equal to 30 times 36. So this is your opportunity to show your skills. What is the highest common factor of 28 and 21? 10 seconds to hold pause the video. Here are the answers. 28, well, we'll just divide by 2. 14 divide by 2, 2 and 7. And 21, 3 and 7. So let's just check that. 2 times 2 times 7 equals 28. 3 times 7 equals 21. Now we're looking for the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. Highest common factor takes the lowest power of any of these prime factors. 2 times 2 and no 2's. So highest common factor gets 0 on the 2's. Lowest common multiple gets the 2 2's. There's a 3 and no 3, so again it's not common to both, so the only 3 goes down into the lowest common multiple. And there's 7 and 7, so a power of 1 in the 7's is on both. It's both the highest and the lowest. So 7 times, that's just equal to 7. 2 times 2 times 3 times 7 equals 84. So let's have the check. Lowest common multiple times the highest common factor for two numbers is A times B. So 28 times 21, which is A times B, was 588, which equals 7, which is the highest common factor, times 84, the lowest common multiple. Give yourself a tick for that. Well done. Now, here's what we should try and remember. When you've got two numbers, the highest common multiple times the lowest common multiple times the highest common factor equals A times B. The highest common factor uses the factors that are common. So factorize the thing, and anything that appears in both should make up your highest common factor, which in reality means that the highest common factor takes all the lowest powers of the factor, because the lowest powers are going to be common to both numbers. And the lowest common multiple, that takes the highest power of all the factors. And this is how I remember it. If this